want to thank you for who you've been for me. You've created me as a new person in my own eyes. You've been tuning in to me sufficiently that for many of you that are receiving this, every last detail of what you described is a match for my world. And it's taken me a bit to get, to internalize why I'm finding so many of you that are tuning into the energy that I'm operating from. And it is because, and I still struggle with it, to own that not only is my mission on the planet that I'm fulfilling right now one of the most important missions on the planet that exists in this moment, but it actually is one of the most important missions that anyone's ever held in the history of humanity. And it's obviously a huge statement to make, and it's huge to live with. And I'll just simply say, and you'll understand as this comes to pass, that the role I've been entrusted with is to catalyze our society from the path of false separation that we've been on for so long, of the illusion of the individual and the individual consciousness that we've been exhibiting as a society, to the detriment of the collective. That, as you know, not only for the collective of humanity, but for the collective of all of life, we're not only in decline, we're headed, without some intervention, towards certain death. There are no breaks in our current mechanism for the direction that we're heading with our level of self-harm and self-destruction for all of life on the planet, all of life that's being affected by all of the toxins and all of the plastics and all the everything that we are squeezing the life out of life on this planet. As you know, there is a solution in the realms, in the energetic realms. The solution is that we embody a collective consciousness. Because as we embody a collective consciousness, then our individual instinct of survival, it's our number one instinct. Most of us have, because that's our number one instinct, have lived for thousands or tens of thousands of consecutive days on this planet by adhering to that instinct to keep ourselves alive. And yet, as a collective, we're not embodying that, and we will die as a collective, even with all of these individuals, and especially with all of these individuals, us, all of us, embodying survival at an individual level and not embodying survival at a collective level. The only way to survive as a collective at this point that I can see is to embody a collective consciousness, where as a collective we make choices not to self-harm anymore, that we recognize that self-harm and self-destruction, just like any alcoholic or drug addict or anybody that is consumed by their addiction to the point, and the self-harm due to it, that it leads to destruction. Similarly, as a collective, we can arrive at a consciousness, at least we can envision it, right? We can arrive at a consciousness where we're protecting the collective at the level that, just like if you walk down the street and punch somebody in the face, like, you can't do that. It's against the law. You're going to get arrested. You're going to go to jail. That is harming another to the point that it's a violation of our rules, and you don't get to participate in society as you're harming others like that, or worse. And yet, if you look at the level of harm created by pollution directly in places where, there are factories or there are mines or there are whatever that pollutes the groundwater and causes cancer and does all of these things that assaults many people far worse than a punch in the face, and yet in many circumstances, either there is no rules or laws to prevent that level of harm of others and thus the collective, or the penalties are sufficient acceptable business expenses. Whatever it is, that level of harming the collective at some point in our evolution, which is gratefully coming sooner rather than later, will similarly be illegal and similarly be subject to sufficient penalties and disincentives that, just like most people are disincentivized from punching other people in the face, most corporations and other entities will face sufficient disincentives to be creating abusive behavior, either to our environment or to people or to life, that behavior will evolve away, just like randomly punching people in the face's behavior evolved away once there were sufficient penalties in place, or let's say disincentives, and incentives to head in the other direction. And so what I'm describing to you energetically, gratefully, can be accomplished through an evolution of the technologies that I'm bringing into the world right now. And when I say bringing into the world, I want to make clear that my view, and there is different languages for it, but what I've heard most recently, which is a new language for me in this context, is that I'm in the Akashic records finding different thought forms that haven't been accessed in a while. It would seem, not that it doesn't exist somewhere on our planet, but not with the energy to be able to manifest in the world. And I'm bringing these concepts of collectivism. Specifically, I've built systems. And when I say I've built systems, and again, let me be clear that I feel like I'm channeling or finding this information outside of myself, inside of the universal mind, inside of, for me, what is the infinite sea of possibilities. That's always the way that I understood it to myself and described it to myself. Other people may say the Akashic records or Akashic realms or some other way, universal mind, universal consciousness, that I'm finding as I practice traveling down long, deep paths to find answers to how we can use today's technology to support collective consciousness behavior and adoption within our society. So within that context, I've found understandings that have led me to blueprint systems for collective thinking, collective action, and collective commerce that together form a starting point, because there are other systems already that are in my mind and will be released soon, and many other people will come up with many other collective systems that help us practice collective consciousness and be incentivized to practice collective consciousness and disincentivized from harming the collective, and in any way, physically, mentally, emotionally, etc. And and it's all based on the golden rule. There may be other ways, but this is the one way that I've found, that I've decided to build into the system as an access for this collective consciousness, which is that we each choose, in order to participate, to abide by the golden rule, to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. And in that agreement that we make, it begets a fair exchange of value all the time. That we wouldn't want to shortchange somebody else because we wouldn't want others to shortchange us. So we don't look for bargains where we can get the most while giving the least. What we look for is really valuable, fair exchanges of value so that we can support others as they support us, and we can all be mutually supported within a collective environment that by leveraging the power of the collective, we actually unlock additional value that we all get to carry away from these transactions with each other, that we're developing value not only for ourselves individually, but always also for connectors, which essentially represent the collective that are showing up in this circumstance. And as we embed these patterns of the collective benefiting all the time with everything that we're doing, that we're always both seeking to benefit ourselves and the collective simultaneously, and the others that we're exchanging with. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win all around. That's where we get to when we seek wins for others as much as we seek wins for ourselves, and then we build all of our systems based on that type of consciousness to embed and incentivize that type of behavior and disincentivize any behavior or thoughts or actions that again create any sort of harm, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, etc., to the collective. And as we set these systems up, and as one by one each of us choose when we're ready, and those of us that are choosing to delay embracing living by the golden rule and participating with the growing collective that's gathering in that space, those are just the ones that we can see can use the type of healing of whatever there is to be healed that we found within us and that we were able to heal within ourselves, and they're just the same as us, just a little bit further down the path. And as more and more of us become gathered in the collective that have chosen self-healing on an individual and collective level, that we're able to compassionately support everyone else until we all as an entire society can exist inside of this healing space that we've created for ourselves as a collective of not only humanity but all of life on the planet. And we are arriving at that collective space in a time frame that's even boggling my mind, because of the blueprints that I've been blessed with channeling from the divine to bring in here now as the catalyst. Because for sure what I'm bringing are not all the answers. There's so many questions with so many answers, and what the systems I'm channeling through are providing a mechanism for all of society to participate in both asking those questions and answering those questions at the highest levels of innovation all of the time, of all of us expressing our highest and best thoughts all of the time through video, live recording, AI processing of what we're saying, to be able to connect our current thoughts with all of the previous similar thoughts, to be able to arrive at the channels of those thoughts that give us access to the highest evolution of where those thoughts have gone already, and allow us to participate in a furtherance of the boundaries of innovation in every moment that we are existing through this collective global brain and through the new rules and structures that we're creating that allow us to freely express all of our best ideas all of the time without fear or concern that others will take them and profit from them. And instead, we can be guaranteed a value flowing back to us, if any find value in what we share. And in that assurance and ease and grace and reward of all of us sharing our best ideas all of the time, that gives us access to this hyper evolution that becomes available when we can all be participating on pushing the edges of innovations, solutions, through this collective thinking I'm describing, through collective actions that we can take together, and doing it all within a collective commerce system that provides the financial and other energetic exchange, positive feedback loops that we need in order to have the system that I'm describing not only be self-supportive, but hyper-evolutionary in itself and all of the functionality that it's able to provide to us through its evolution. So I know that was a lot, and that is a lot in a nutshell for you to really get a sense of, why my role is so important, that I've been able to synthesize all of this into these systems that allow us to begin to end this era of self-destruction that we've been on and turn it all around in a self-healing process that both allows all of us as individuals to go through a hyper healing process because of the collective support that we'll be receiving from everyone for our own healing journey as we support everyone on their healing journey. And together, collectively, we'll be collectively healing our consciousness and our actions and our existence with not only ourselves but all of life on this planet. And as quickly as we can, and we will make it quick, we will end the self-destructive behavior, and we will not only get to stasis and sustainability, but we will quickly reverse a lot of the damage that's been done through the toxins and the plastics and the heating of the atmosphere and everything, and be able to put all of life, be able to start to walk the path of restoration, regeneration, and care and love for all of the collective of life that supports us as integrally as we support each other. And as we embrace this collective of who we are as a species, a collective species that we are, and we protect and preserve our own health and well-being, and as we extend that out to all of life and the collective that we are as life on this planet, we will create the planet of our dreams and the planet that our children and future generations can live into. And we can rest assured, as many of us as we can, that we've left the planet in a better place for future generations, and for those of us that have been around long enough, have reversed the multi-generational pattern cycles that we've been in of self-harm and self-destruction, to go back to self-healing and self-regeneration. And I so deeply honor who you are in this process, very early in this process. If you're hearing or watching this video any time close to when I created it, which is August 29th, 2024, you are on the edge of this massive evolutionary quantum leap for humanity. The leap that we're taking in our consciousness and how that shifts, how these technologies shift our behavior and our interaction with life, and how our consciousness shifts our behavior and interactions with each other and life. And this is your invitation, as life always is, for you to step into whatever role you choose to on the forefront and leading edge of this process, seeing very clearly in this moment, and even more as you see more and more of the details of how all of this is about to play out. And as I say that, I know we don't know a lot of ways that this is about to play out, and yet you can see, most of you already, I'm sure, and the rest of you as you look at more of the details, that that even just me describing this, even the associated materials and videos, it's opening the Pandora's box to reaching collectivism. Like, once we see how we can put all the pieces together, that there is some way to put all the pieces together to be able to achieve collectivism, then it's a short matter of time to find all the right pieces to put it together. And I believe, and you'll see if you agree, that I've put enough pieces together. And again, when I say I want to be very clear. The divine through me has shown me how to put enough pieces together in order for us to be on a rapid hyper-evolutionary path from this point forward to collectivism. And that is the critical role that I'm playing, and it's the reason, if I can assume, because I've been searching for a reason, why you've been channeling me or the energies that I'm riding with at this point, because you've been so tuned into my experience of life. And I get that, at least the story that I'm making up, is that you've found somebody riding the leading edge of consciousness for humanity sufficiently to bring this transformation into humanity's existence right now. I'm honored by your attention, as I'm honored by the role that I'm playing, and can only assume that you've found me because of the role that I'm playing. And because of that, this is a seminal moment in your life, because I'm inviting you to create a crossover between everything you've been perceiving as you've dropped into your channelings and your sessions and your card readings and whatever it looks like for you, and now an actual human avatar that is as closely representing everything that you've been bringing through as you've ever found, is showing up in your physical experience to invite you to co-create reality with the energy that you've been tuning into. It's mind-blowing for me to consider that could happen in the world at all, let alone, as there's lightning that I just saw. It's so funny. I haven't seen lightning for like a half hour, and it happened right in that moment, which is what happens to me, as a lot of you have tuned into. That it's remarkable to me that this could happen in our human experience at all, let alone that I could be the one bringing it to you, and together we could be the ones bringing it into the world, and we can be the ones together. We already are, frankly. I mean, you're seeing this, you can't unsee this. You get to choose, how committed you are whenever you are in time, and that's really all it comes down to. And that's the thing, as some of you have been tuning into, is that, like, as there is more lightning, that this is the thing that once you see it, you can't unsee it. As every human on the planet starts to understand that there's an opportunity for us to transition to collective consciousness, as a society, and the access is through each one of us choosing it whenever we're ready, then each one of us is either in a joyous embrace to eagerly join this collective and start down this path as full-heartedly and as much power as possible on one end of the spectrum, and on the other end of the spectrum being in such denial and avoidance and whatever else it looks like, which frankly I've been in a lot, which is in large part why you've never heard of this. There's been a lot of avoidance of embracing this, and I won't get into all of that, but the fact is that now that I'm letting the cat out of the bag, so to speak, whoever sees this, and soon it'll be the whole world, just has a choice of when they're in or not. And as the collective quickly grows, the power of the collective grows for influence in our society, and that's the crazy, rapid, positive feedback cycle that's about to be unleashed overnight into our society, is that we're all going to have some level of awareness, whether we're ready to fully embrace it, because there's more lightning, or whether it's, or whether we're, those of us as individuals or corporations or industries or whatever it looks like are going to be resistant to this idea at first. The power of the collective in the end is going to be far more than any individuals, or eventually even collections of individuals can, overcome. The urge to self-heal and survive will become, as a collective, will become so embedded into our consciousness as a collective that eventually that's all that exists left on the planet. Not that there won't ever be aberrant behaviors or what have you. However, just as we find ways to, protect the collective, at this point by having, whatever systems we have in place, we'll have an evolved version of being able to, appropriately and effectively, work with people, entities, whatever, that are still attached, to whatever self-harming behaviors that end up, in many cases, harming the collective. So if you can imagine a future where the collective has sufficiently gathered, sufficiently aligned all of our mechanisms in our society to ensure our collective health and well-being and thriving, then you can smile in knowing that we are on the first step to that future right now. And you are a huge part of that, and take a moment to acknowledge whatever you've done in your life, whatever path you've walked to be chosen to be receiving this message right now. I so appreciate you and honor you for who you are, and I am so grateful to co-create the world with you.